You're listening to the Product Coalition podcast with Jay Stansel. This is where product mastery happens. This is where careers are made. Welcome to the Product Coalition podcast. Let's go.
Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're diving deep into a domain where milliseconds matter and failure is not an option. We're going to be talking about AI in telematics and the automotive industry. And to guide us through this high-stakes world, we're joined by someone whose career reads like a blueprint for modern engineering leadership, Nishitha Nalla. With over 12 years' experience across companies like Workday, Verizon, Macy's, Nishitha has built a reputation for scaling systems, leading teams, and translating breakthrough technologies into real-world business results. Now, what makes Nishitha's perspective so valuable for today's conversation is that she's not just theorizing about what AI could do, but instead she's been on the front lines making it work at scale and in places where precision and reliability are everything. So in this episode, we'll explore the types of data driving AI in the automotive sector, how teams can make decisions when the stakes are sky high, and what it really takes to validate and deploy machine learning in production environments that move fast, quite literally. We'll also unpack some of the assumptions that might not age well and shine a light on one truly revolutionary solution in the space. Nishitha, I'm really excited to have you on the show today. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Jay. I'm excited about it too. Thank you for having me today.
AI in automotive, AI in industry domain-specific areas is something that I'm really interested in. Can I ask, what was it around AI in this space that got you really passionate and made you really want to bring a conversation to the audience today?
Yeah, definitely. So AI, it's a very complicated terminology. Like there's a lot involved in it. So mainly it's specifically towards the automotive industry. AI is not just identifying something. There are drivers, we have vehicles, and there are different weather conditions around, and there's also like real time decision making. So it'll involve a car, like a vehicle, or anything, and it'll also involve the driver. Like it's going to be like a similar percentage of both. So why does it matter in a telematics industry? Just imagine your car warning you even before you know you were in danger, right? So how does AI help us here? So AI has like a lot of passive sensors, proactive guardians, and it shows like it'll mainly help us do the coaching cuts collision rates by 20%, and real time anomaly detection. So all these, like the predictive maintenance, operational efficiency, these are some of the main features that we can utilize using AI. And similar, and we also need to make sure we have like privacy and edge deployments, like how a user experiences, mainly for safety and risk prevention. So this is where AI would definitely be a lot of help, I would say, in the current automotive industry.
You've spoken about different types of data and deployment of sensors to capture data. Can I ask, Nishitha, what kind of data from a vehicle, say a fleet vehicle, right now is being captured, and what is still missing from the picture when it comes to data?
Basically, I would say, let's say, so there's a lot of data that we capture, right? So what kind of data? So just car screeching, right? And also different, like there'll be potholes, black ice, oil slicks. There are a lot of things, distraction, phone usage, eyes off road, like all of these things. Typically, that's what is missing right now. Like how many occupants in the car, like, or in our vehicle, and what's the window position, what's the HVAC settings. Like there are a lot of uh, uh, considerations that we need to take into. We also need to have, like, typically majorly what's missing is high resolution extended vision. Like what are we seeing there? How are the line markings, the traffic signages, and I would also say like pedestrians, right? So all of these is the data that's really important in fine tuning fine tuning the model, I would say.
Okay. All of the sensors that are capturing some of those data points you were talking about there, are they on the average family vehicle right now capturing that information? Or are we talking about specific vehicles built for the purposes of capturing this data?
No, like because it should be accessible for everybody in the industry. So we are trying to save lives here. Like we don't want the audience to make it more complicated, right? So in today's world, we have our different cars, the fleet, like the trucks that's carrying different goods. So everything, all the automobiles right now has these features, but not all those data sources come for free from every vehicle's, factory telematics. So we typically break it down. So the way we break it down is like basic, the standard ones that we have is, vehicle speed, RPM, the brake pressures, and what's the fuel level. So these are some of the standards that we receive on today, from every automotive vehicle that we have. But there are some certain specific sensors, like, in cabin audio microphone, that's not really enabled, but that's very much needed for road noise or anomaly detection. And so rarely we have like factory installed on non luxury models, right? Like we don't really have that, but that's where we are focused, that like that's also something that would be really helpful going further. Like three axis accelerometer, and for lane departure or distraction monitoring, we would require like an external camera kit. Like I know in today's vehicles we do have back camera, side cameras on the indicators, but nothing too modern that have like entire broader vision to process for the external camera. And
Okay.
uh, one other important thing that we have is high precision barometric, like humidity sensors, rain or light sensors. These are also like very important to get the data feeds.
Can I ask, Nishitha, how open is the automotive industry when it comes to sharing data? Is there strong open source communities around sharing data sets for the types of things you've been talking about? Or is it each of the big manufacturers are trying to keep all of this to themselves to build better cars and make more money?
Yeah, that's a good question. In fact, like it what makes is like mainly I wanted to like first explain like how the data is being unique in telematics industry, right? So it connects between the vehicle, the driver, environment, and everything. So I don't like most of the data that we currently have. Mainly, it's helpful for companies like vehicles, and it's currently being shared with some of the insurance companies too. I know, like companies like Progressive, they have like their own devices that will be embedded into the car upon the like we need to agree for it, right? So early on, like whatever OEMs that were designed on vehicles primarily for reliability and safety, so these diagnostic data, they are pretty open, but the companies are trying to move around strategic partnerships like leading manufacturers, right? They have been partnering with different established telematics platforms. Like, for example, we have Volvo. So it teamed up with Geotab, and that will expose like selected vehicle signals, like standardizing certain APIs. Mainly, they're focused towards fleets, like huge trucks, which are the trucks like fleet management. So they'll ingest rich OEM data without like any reverse engineering the canvas. So all of this, the regulatory drivers, mainly the insurance and mobility use cases, they point out combining factory installed sensors, speed braking, accelerometer. So all these are for usage based insurance programs. So they do have certain leverage around sharing the data with the third party models, but coming up with the emerging services and legal access, it's definitely a still work in progress. But we need to have like legally compelled, and with law enforcement, regulatory bodies, all these will come into picture when we are dealing with data, especially. So when I talk about in cabin, right? So that's current, like that may be prone to class action lawsuits. So it's you have to be very very specific on what data you're feeding into the LLMs. So
Okay.
avoid all that.
Most of my experiences are, when it comes to machine learning and model selection has been in the software space, and it's quite a typical day when I have large data sets, a model in Azure Data Studio, prep the model, run the model, and then we get to see some results. But
Yeah.
in a vehicle, milliseconds matter. So,
Yeah.
how do manufacturers and product owners of these types of products ensure they're integrating models that is not only reading this data in real time, such as seeing someone jump out in front of the car,
Yeah.
but they're choosing the right model that can make a calculation quick enough to
Yeah.
respond to what it's seeing? How do they go about that?
Like frankly speaking, so these like all the sensors that we are currently having, right? So it defines what like it mainly clarifies the business objective, especially for the product owners, right? We need to the main focus or main inspiration that they need to drive from is like reduce incidents per 100k miles, predict part of the failures within a 30-day window. Everything is an added advantage here. It's not just one feature, like lift feature used by certain number of like certain percentage of crowd. That's user engagement. And we could also like explore our data, like what kind of volume, like batch streaming. So all these, like it's very I would say we need to characterize the data, like are the failure labels noisy or delayed, like what kind of quality that you're dealing with, right? That matters a lot. Like missingness, and do certain vehicle models like underreport the data? It's again, it takes me back to the same question that you asked before. Like, are the manufacturers really willing to reveal all the data that they can, right? So it depends on that as well. But I really hope, like, going further, if we could get more information, like the accuracy related to F1, ROC, UAC classifications, all these are more for regressions. So, like, mainly the series split to guard against overfitting, hyperparameter searches. So, all these are some of the experiments that can be done in the AI world today. um, Mainly like consistently you need to compare the metrics, like the model needs to learn, because you said it's a millisecond, right? There's a lot of precision of data is needed here.
When it comes to that model selection that ends up in production vehicles, are regulatory bodies and insurers part of that decision, or is it always on the manufacturer to ensure they're putting the right model in the right vehicle at the right time?
So mainly, it also depends on the privacy and security when collecting the telematics data, right? So in order to overcome that, like all data that we have, like it's mainly anonymized and encrypted, like end to end. So there are certain compliances that we need to follow, like GDPR or CCPA frameworks that implement like consistent driven data collection. So we need to collect the data, and data that's used for model training, it's de-identified, and it's also stored in different secure environments. So that's definitely needed. And on top of it, like we should also, like when I said OEMs and tier one suppliers, like in the vehicle itself, we should mainly make sure or take care of safety critical features like skid detection, driver assistant warnings, predictive maintenance modules. So all of these, like when they own the hardware, right? Like they carry liability for safety, and they need to ensure functional safety compliance, the ISO standard. So these are some of the standards that if we can like follow them, and specifically to telematic service providers and cloud platforms, I think we could do wonders.
When it comes to model improvements or new model identification and deploying that into vehicles, in the software industry, we've got QAs and we've got user acceptance testing, and we've got these safeguards before something goes into production. But when a new model is dropped into a new Volvo, for instance,
Mhm.
how are they validating that model? Is someone or a fleet of people driving Volvos around for a few days to test models? Or is all of that done through simulation and virtualization?
To begin with, it's definitely going to be simulation, because before releasing something into user, like a real time user, it definitely needs to be simulated. Firstly, like with my experience in the past, like when we wanted to try out something, we did go with basic tests like offline evaluations, like hold out test sets for the employees. Like we had QAs who were actually putting that device in their cars, like company cars, and then drive around and actually get the metrics from there. So that's definitely important for building it. But in order to improvise it, make it more efficient, we need the simulation and stress testing, right? So we have something called software in the loop, like plug the model into a virtual driving simulator, and like mainly like you run the model on the actual hardware, like integrated with the vehicle. And also we have like passive modes like shadow deployments, parallel scoring that we can do. Like mainly we try to push the model into a small set of vehicles who have agreed, or small cohort of vehicles, but they don't really be bothered of it. Like we don't really uh, uh, put out anything, like don't act on the alerts, like log its outputs or anything, right? So we log its output alongside the production model, and we do like the comparative analysis between all of those, like measure when the new model would not agree, but the extra alerts it raises, like caught more real time events, or is it like a more nuisance noise that we have. And these are all very helpful when we want to track the latency and also research spike in the field unit. So, and then other way that we could, like the industry could test it out is controlled field pilots. So we have like, let's say we have like split of a fleet. So just try to split a fleet into different groups, like the one that we are ready to release, and the one that has like a newer model that we're trying to test, right? Compare the downstream impact, what's the safety, and the business wise and operational models. What's the duration? Like, is it run for a sufficient window across diverse vehicle types, regions? Because the location also matters, like the road conditions matter, right? So all of these will definitely, a lot of testing needs to be done around this point.
Okay, it's really interesting to see that some of the testing follows the same models as healthcare, whether it comes to efficacy of a drug before it's
Yes.
rolled out. It's very
Oh, definitely.
similar. You've got cohorts, treatment groups, A/B testing, essentially happening here.
Yes.
Can I ask, when it comes to coming back to insurance that you mentioned earlier, and obviously, insurance and car insurance is a big part of
Mhm.
everyone's life when it comes to car selection and car costs and management. And um, no one really wants to have a hard time if they've been in an accident with their own insurance company. Everyone wants that to be easy, friendly, human, and so they can get that new car and hopefully also walk away from the accident. But when it comes to AI models in cars, and when the AI is involved in either trying to prevent an accident or is the cause of an accident, how do insurance companies reflect or respect that AI was part of either the problem or the solution when it comes to payouts?
That's an interesting question, I should say, because it opens up a lot of other questions, like going further. So mainly, like insurance companies, though they are the people who better understand the risk, right? So they would know, like fleet operators, how they can monitor the driver behavior and how can we try and coach them differently. So this is what makes like risk management proactive instead of being it reactive. So that's absolutely agree on what you just asked, right? Like it's one of the most practical and high impact applications of the technology, like AI in the using with the insurance, combining with the insurance. Like basically for insurers, it opens the door to a dynamic behavior based risk assessment, right? So, but they don't really like completely rely on traditional metrics. That's the advantage for insurance companies, like what's the age of the car, what's the mileage, vehicle types, but they can actually assess the risk in real time, right? So we are not really changing, like we are training the drivers to be better day by day. So based on how the vehicle is being driven and the conditions it is being exposed to, so all of these would matter, right? This enables more accurate underwriting in determining their premiums and faster or more informed claims. Like today, people could argue, they have like different points that they could argue, but using AI with so many features, I think it shifts it. The goal would be shifting from reactive risk management to proactive risk prevention. So that's what we want ultimately. And mainly that's also helpful for fleet managers as well. Like it's they can monitor like driving behavior across entire fleet, receive like real time updates, like are they really putting their goods in a safe hands. Like the system will help predict and prevent costly incidents, because it's not just the vehicle, it's just the load that it's carrying as well, right? So whether that's accidents, excessive wear and tear, and does this vehicle need a downtime due to unsafe driving. So all of these will definitely help the current industry in determining the premiums, or at least reduce the risk of it.
Okay. I'm keen to touch on ethics in this space, Nishitha. When it's a driver in a fleet environment, they've often signed a contract. They're an employee or a contractor, so monitoring what they're doing, how they're doing it, when they're doing it, comes with some explicit permissions. Um, could you talk me through the ethics of that, and then also the ethics of the private consumer and the idea of having a black box in my car that's tracking everything I'm doing and possibly sharing it, with my insurance company, and what might it be sharing with my insurance company if I have given it approval to do so?
Yeah, that's a good question, and it's a very open-ended question. There's no like a definitive answer here, because there's a uh, lot of uh, legal issues involved in this front, because we need explicit permissions, and like we need basically like explicit informed consent, right? We can't really put a black box where the user wouldn't know about it, but the consumer should know what like whether from a consumer downloading an app, or a driver like signing the contract or fleet agreements. So all these come under like come under the legal compliance issues, right? The ethical use, so mainly ethics will fall under place, like how like hinges on transparency and data minimization also. And yeah, definitely we need to respect like personal boundaries, like off duty driving, but they could still be in the car, and passenger privacy. All of these are very like that's why initially I raised a point where it's very important in determining what kind of data are we feeding into the LLMs, right? We don't need to send like any PII information, like wouldn't really say PII, but at least they typically receive like distilled risk metrics. Like so in order to put it in a better way, I would say like there are different ways in feeding the data into the LLMs. Like we don't need to completely have like, okay, upload the entire recording from the black box and just determine, okay, what must have happened when an insurance is claimed or something like that. So it all depends on how we are training the model, what specific data are we taking. Okay, only when the driver has started driving to the destination, right? What has happened? Do we really want to stop listening when they are on a phone call? uh, See, they should be aware of it. Like even the driver would be very conscious of what they're doing. And do we really want him to be on call when they're driving, or when they're texting? Like, do we want to remove the permission? So all of these would ultimately help the driver indirectly as well, right? Like they would have more safe driving, so they would reduce risk.
You've obviously been exposed to so much innovation in this industry over time. Can I ask, what's something truly revolutionary that you've seen recently that you're really excited about when it comes to AI in this space?
Mainly what I am saying, like not just telematics, right? Like, are you mainly referring to anything in the industry? Like,
It could be automotive, telematics, or somewhere else. Yeah, up to you.
okay, yeah, yeah, definitely. Like, that's an interesting topic. So I wanted to know, like, if you wanted to know something specific, but mainly AI, like in general itself, is very. it's a very small term to say just AI, because that's so huge and it's a lot of black box. We don't know what's happening. A lot of like mainly like coming to telematics, right? Like simply to put, AI like transforms the telematics from a rear view recorder, right, and into mainly like forward looking intelligence layer that we have. Our main goal is to like prevent risks, optimizing operations, enriching experiences. So all of these, we are trying so hard to put everything out there, like unlocking entire new mobility. Like we never would have thought, okay, we could track if the driver is going safely. We could even hear like small tire screeching sounds and make and determine, okay, something is wrong with the tire, right? That's really wonderful in the AI world today. And coming to like different like hiring world and workday, as you see, like it reduces so much effort for a recruiter. You have like 100,000 applications coming in for a particular job. Like you don't really want to uh, like go through one by one, right? Like AI does that for you. Like it's reducing the job so much, like reducing the effort, but still there is equal human interaction needed in order to validate if it's even doing it right. Like there's a lot of auditing that's needed. So it, even though it reduces like effort in certain spaces and jobs in certain spaces, it opens up a new window, like new space for us.
Focusing on that future space, what do you think the new normal is going to look like 5 years from now when it comes to AI and telematics and automotive?
Mainly, the future of this technology is like not just, I'm not just saying like because of what we are listening to, what's inside the devices. It's not just responsive. It's also like truly anticipatory, right? Like right now, most safety systems that you're seeing, they just react after something begins to go wrong. Like think ABS kicking in, and when you lose the traction, or when we are headed into the like where we are headed is a world where the vehicle senses risk before even it materializes, right? Like okay, the car condition is okay, it needs some downtime. So that part, like we wouldn't know, at least not to the human eye. So over the next few years, we'll see like more vehicles or cars like equipped with different integrated systems that will combine all the audio that's coming in, environmental, driver behavior, real time telematics. They all like work together to prevent different incidents. And equally, all these systems are striving or evolving to a point where they can adapt to individual drivers, understand their habits. Like today, if you get into a Tesla, right, it it changes all your settings, even the music that you're hearing to, like it adapts it to yourself inside. So that's what I feel would be really great. The tech will create like connected safety ecosystems.
Okay, well, talking about getting in cars, then let's get personal for a moment. If you could only get in a self-driving car for the rest of your life, or you could only get in a car that you're in control of driving for the rest of your life, which of those two would you choose and why?
Um, there are two ways. So I drive my car. Like I don't have an electric car, but I would rather prefer like a self driving car, because also with some control, like not complete hand off and just, I don't care what the car is doing, not like that. But at least I would like to have like some kind of control and trust in what I'm driving, like self driving mainly. The pros that I would say is like we as humans excel at contextual judgment, so navigating poor signage, so all of these would be, and distraction, mainly like distraction is something we are very much prone to. So in order to handle all of these, I think the future, even for myself, I would more incline towards having a self-driving car. Um, so like go with self-driving, like prioritize consistency. It wouldn't determine, like it wouldn't like mainly safety in typical conditions, and offloading the cognitive load of driving. So all of these, how you're stressed, what's your mood condition, all of these come into picture. So yeah, I would go with self-driving.
Nice, thank you, thank you. Nishitha, I'm always keen to find an opportunity to give the community insights into how to get into new domains. In this instance, we're talking about AI in automotive. For people that want to either enter or switch into an industry like this, what is your recommendation of a career path to either move into AI and automotive or telematics?
So there are a lot of AI related tools, frameworks, models. So basically, if you're really interested, try to get an idea on what's AI, like how, like what is it, what are models, what's an LLM, what kind of data is being used, how do we feed data into a model, or into like how will the LLM work alongside the model, why is it all called AI, like there's new thing called like agentic now in the market. So all of these, right, like get a basic idea and try out using smaller modules, like we have ChatGPT, Gemini that we are currently using. Just see how wonders it could do for the data that you're currently having. Like project first learning, built like a small demo, like an end to end, like a dash cam, or like since it's telematics, I just said like a basic audio anomaly detector. But not just that, just you're in a meeting, just take the meeting notes, ask AI to summarize it, it does wonders for you. So just try and understand how to use like smaller tools and then move into a broader world out there.
Nice. Can I ask, on the day to day, what is it about telematics and AI in this specific domain that gets you out of bed and gets you excited in the morning?
So, great question. Like, I was mainly like fascinated with this idea that vehicles, like how each vehicle is surrounded by different signals, tires, road noise, engine hums. Like, I didn't know like such small noises could make a big impact, right? So, that's where my idea came into picture. Like, how I envisioned it. So, since it plays such a critical role. Um, like I wanted to see, okay, can we do something to detect hazardous conditions? Like, can we, before even the driver notices, right? Not just always like AI plus telematics, you combine them both, it transforms cars from passive data recorders into active partners, like anticipating risks and all those. So that's a great way to avoid a lot of, unfortunate situations, I should say.
Nice. Thank you. Nishitha, it's been a real pleasure to talk to you today and to go deep into this domain and this industry. And I really appreciate some of the insights, advice, and experiences you've shared with myself and the audience today. So thank you.
Yep. It was my pleasure. It was great talking to you too, Jay.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you to the audience for listening in to another episode of Product Coalition as well. If you'd like to learn more about the Product Coalition, please head over to productcoalition.com. Until next time, thank you very much.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Product Coalition podcast, hosted by Jay Stansel. Got questions or want to explore more topics? Connect with Jay on LinkedIn or join the ever-growing Product Coalition community on Substack. Thanks for listening.